Yo, what's up? Figured I'd go over the 10.8 update notes to let you know my opinion, and I guess a little side talk about the balance team and like how out of touch they are with some of the changes they made this patch. I might do a small little, I guess, video essay on the side about it. Let me know if you want to hear about that, but um, there are some changes in this patch that really are just confusing more than anything else. But anyway, move down. Some changes in the game modes. Soul Surges have been removed. Good. They really didn't do much of anything. They were just kind of annoying. They give you slight gold. They give you a little bit of XP, a little bit of gold. It really wasn't much. Didn't really do much. A couple of stats changes. The Stygian Beacon cooldown decreased from 6 minutes to 5 minutes, so you're going to have to be more aware of that and be there more often if you are going to be there to contest it. The increased base health of the Titans and the physical procs. They increased a bunch of the stats and the rewards to get it. There was a fix for the Fire Giant. EFG was getting twice the intended amounts of increased stats. This is for the Fire Giant itself, not for the stats of the base jungle boss, but the enhanced stats that's given to it, which is part of the reason why EFG is so hard to kill, but I also think EFG is still going to be very difficult to kill. It's kind of ridiculous that this was in the game for so long. Moving on to items, I'm not going to talk about these changes because I don't care about these game modes that much. Other changes. Lono's Mask buff, decent change. The main concern with Lono's Mask is how strong characters like Nox, Eset, Baron even would be with them. Characters like Aphrodite and Hel could use them, but they are heavily neutered by them because of the healing reduction that they do give. But with healing being its own separate thing now and not having to do with power, maybe that changes. I don't know. A Spartan flag increase from the GP5 from 6 to 8 GP5 might put it in the meta, but the Spartan flag itself is kind of like a mini Bellona ult, and it's kind of always sucked because the area around it is only so effective. It provides another stat now, which is good, but we'd have to see. I'd really have to see how effective this would be in a game. I'm not entirely sure. But basic attack tank items are getting changed. Basic attack warriors right now suck. That's just kind of how it is. Osiris, Bellona, Erlang, you can kind of count Gilgamesh, Amma, they all just suck. And that's because, other than, there's a couple exceptions, but Glad Shield doesn't work well on them. Items like Shoguns just kind of suck because their defense is too low, but these changes are good. I think the 2300 and the increased health threshold and Berserker Shield is actually going to put it higher, much higher in the meta, and certain characters are going to love using that. But Glad Shield's still going to be very, very strong. So we'll have to see how much it contests it. I think it will allow auto attack warriors to have a niche in some areas, but we'll have to see. The Shogun's buff really doesn't do too much. It's got 45 procs instead. I think Talisman of Energy is just Shogun's better. But if you want the attack speed buff all the time, Shogun's is better for you. But Talisman of Energy gives you more defense. So you kind of have to pick and choose. It's described underutilized healing items. Rejuvenating Heart. Increased healing dealt per stack from 6% to 10%. Maximum decreased max stacks from 8 to 5. These healing items, at least I haven't messed around with the magical ones too much because a lot of them weren't very good. It's difficult to say how good they were because if you were going like a mid lane healing mage, like a mid lane Hell or whatever, you weren't really building this stuff. You might go Asclepius and you might go Last Gasp, but you weren't going Rejuvenating Heart. Rejuvenating Heart is kind of more niche than the other two, and we'd have to see where it kind of goes in. It's definitely better now, and I think it can fit into more builds, but again, I'd have to see. This change has me excited, though. The Scepter buff has me very excited. It is going to be cheaper. The buff duration is shorter, which is, whatever. But the cooldown benefit from 0.5 seconds to 1 second. Certain characters can use this item very, very well. I think one in particular, one that I messed around with at the start of the season was Set. Set with this item is going to be crazy. And I think we are thankful that Bumba's Hammer does not proc off of his 2, but Death's Embrace does. I'm gonna mess around with it a ton when this patch comes out, but we're gonna see. This could be an insane change. You could build on somebody like Guan Yu where you can get a heal, auto attack, cancel, reset your cooldowns even quicker. There's a lot of potential here. A lot of potential. And we'll have to see who abuses it best. Brother's Beat Stick buff, this is a good change. Better anti-heal options that are easier to access. It's just good. There's really not much else I could say about it. Heartseeker buff, the threshold being changed. I don't think this was necessary. Entirely. Because, I mean, realistically, if you're going to have an item like Heartseeker, you want to be full committed to a build so you can hit that threshold, right? You were sacrificing your defense for Heartseeker and having that high damage. I don't know. I feel like this is, again, inviting the hybridy builds that can now build this item a bit more because of higher power items. I'm not sure. We'll have to see what this does, but I still feel like it's a bit of a reach. Crusher buff, decreased cost, increased attack speed. I think the decreased cost would have been enough. I didn't think the attack speed increase needs to be changed. I think the 15% something is something that bothers the balance team. I don't know what it is. Serrated Edge shouldn't have 20% pen, but it does for some reason. But 15% is something that they hate having on something. Don't know why. It's fine to have 15%. I don't like the attack speed change. Anyway, Bancroft's Glyph. To the Glyph, apparently increased magical power from 70 to 80. Okay. Cool. Bancroft's is kind of a bad item depending on, unless you're certain characters. Book of Thoth buff. Solid. It makes it more of a reliable option now. And the Evolved book converts a bit more mana now, which makes it more of a reliable option, inviting the book build back a bit more. Brought it to Hootie. This is another buff that makes it like a buildable option. Trying to lean mages more away from the proc build that they have, like the E-Staff and the Soul Reaver builds, which I think is a good way to like kind of invite back the Burst Mage, but also I don't want it to go too heavy to where I'm two abilities just do 70% of a tank's health immediately. God buffs. Ares. These are just solid changes overall. Very good changes. Increased CC reduction from the scaling percentage to just 30% at all ranks is ridiculous. This change is fucking absurd. Shackle's change was just good, makes him better. He's kind of had a dated CDs because he's an older character, but this is actually absurd. Kinda busted. Ares is gonna rise up real far if you're solid with him. I think this is kinda insane, the CC reduction effect that you get from bolster defense. Because now you don't even have to max it second anymore to get that increase. Kinda crazy. Artio. Artio has sucked this season. Like, sucked. So, the healing shifts, plus now, like, her items not giving her as much power, she just doesn't feel good. So these buffs, I think will actually help her a good bit, but I don't know if they're going to bring her in the meta. Artio's best role most of the time is solo lane. And right now, most of the solo laners are just going to beat the living fuck out of her, and she's going to die. And then she'll die late game to Hunters too quickly. Hunters do too much damage right now. And judging by the buffs to the items and the nerfs to the items, they don't care, and they're not going to change anything about that. Artio's not going to be as effective in the solo lane. She might be more effective in the support role, but I don't really see much value in this character, even with these changes. She does a little bit more damage, and her protections debuff is a little bit better. That's about it. Awilix changes. Awilix's problems don't stem from her damage or her attack speed from this stuff. Her problems stem from her inability to be useful on a siege. Awilix is one of those characters that I feel has a niche, in that she's very good at jungle fights, she's good into characters with leaps, but in the late game, when you're sieging, she is very bad at it. And I think that's fine to have. Her strength is jungle fights, engagements where she can come in on the side and get a good pick, get 1v1s off. She is very strong at that. And I don't think these changes do anything. And her flexibility early with what these changes are trying to do, apparently, are... They're trying to make her better in the late game, which she doesn't need help with. And her flexibility early, this doesn't do anything. These changes are... Okay, she does more damage. And she's a bit more volatile. That's it. Really nothing else. Kind of just dead weight changes. But shock changes, on the other hand, pretty solid. This torrent buff, they are giving this ability so many things. Whew. The amount of protections you get from torrent is ridiculous. Shock is a character that is old, a bit clunky, and awkward, but he is deceptively powerful. He has niche spots. He has the attack speed slow he gets from Rain Dance that stacks the movement speed slow, and then Torrent is so strong. They keep making this ability strong. Eventually, they're going to make one buff that's going to make him crazy. They're going to do what I kind of call the Vamana effect now. They're going to do the same thing to Chalk eventually, and he's going to be way too strong. But we'll have to see. These are good changes for Chalk, but they're stacking up. They are stacking up. Gilgamesh. Increase bonus damage. Decent change for Gilgamesh. This will help Gilgamesh in both his roles. Or in all three, I guess. But it's also only going to do so much. Gilgamesh will feel better. Don't know how good he will be. I think Gilgamesh is an underrated pick right now. But you're also not going to have that burst assassin who abuses Serrated Edge's 20% pen and the overstated assassin items. He also gets clapped by hunters. Granted, he's a toxic builder, but I digress. Lancelot changes. I don't think this character needed a buff. Lancelot, his struggle comes from his awkwardness to get into fights late game. Not from his damage, not from his ability to lane, not from his ability to clear, not from his ability to gank, from his awkwardness in the late game. He is difficult. You have to come into the fight on the side. You can't start a fight with Lancelot. He's awkward. Giving him more damage and making it easier for him to get the max shield helps him a lot, but like, did he need it? I don't think he did. I really don't think he did. There should be a risk associated with a character with such a large shield, and you're neutering that risk by giving him more survivability. Medusa. I like this change. This change is good. That's about it. Medusa's kind of been out of the meta for a while. She's much more of a Transcendence favored hunter. But this will make her feel better. Neith. Again, Neith's been out of the meta for a while. She could be played in mid, but she's also a product of being very old. And she's literally the first character in the game you play. She's got some slow abilities, old. Her cooldowns are a bit longer. She's also an ability-based hunter, and every ability-based hunter right now is outclassed by Manicore. Kind of just how it is. Who isn't nerfed this patch, mind you. I'll talk about it later. But Neith has fallen out because she doesn't really go as effective with the kin size pen build, or even with crit, where it's kind of risen up again a bit. These are good changes, but I also feel like Neith just isn't going to do much of anything. A Nuwa change. Okay. This change is decent. At rank 1, she has 2 soldiers, which is pretty solid. And her fog moves faster. Cool. When you level it. Cool. Doesn't help with Nuwa's problems in Conquest. She gets killed very easily in the late game. Because if she gets jumped on, she's fucking dead. If she can't get up into the sky, she's dead. Most of the time. And she doesn't have that longevity of safety like Rama does. Yu Huang changes. This character is strong and I think a bit underrated, but I also think people have learned to play against him. So I do like the changes. There's a lot of... I think it's a solid change for him. It'll help him keep up with the current mid laners. The build I don't think favors him as much, because he's not as good of a Reaver procer as some other people are. Granted, every mage is a good Reaver procer. Don't get me wrong. But Yu Huang's on the lower end. But these are some solid changes. Alright. So we changed the health shielding for Robin again. 7% of Robin's max HP. At this point, we have reverted him back to what he was before, like, they made the changes. He's still going to be incredibly good. Because we haven't touched the Assassin Pen passive that both he and Thor gets. I don't know, man. They are lost on what to do with this character. The only reason they made this change with the shielding is because apparently somebody looked at a Reddit post, and they were like, oh, yeah, they're right about that. Like, I really don't know. They are lost on what to do with this character. This character is still incredibly strong. I don't know what analysis I can give that I haven't already said in the past, like, 4 or 5 videos that I've made about the game, who's good, who's not, the patches, whatever it is. Charon nerf, solid, still very strong. This, giving his max health to a carry is stupid, and shouldn't have been given. Izanami, decreased pen, pretty solid. She absolutely shreds, and I think it needed to be nerfed. This change is the one where I'm going to talk about the balance team being out of touch. So, nerfing Mercury, right? They are worried about Mercury being too strong. I've been gathering some notes for a video essay, right? Writing about this topic. Mercury, at this point in time, I'm recording this on the 7th. October 7th. Not October, August 7th. I could literally look at it now. So as of August 7th, 11:51 a.m., August 7th, Mercury is 12th in win rate. Ranked across all ranks according to Smite Master. Right? So they're saying he's overperforming. Who's ahead of him on that list? This is in order. Kali, Geb, Sun Wukong, Nike, Iset, Manticore, Bastet, Freya, Hades, Xbalanque, Nuwa. We just buffed Nuwa. Well, let's look at their pick rates. We just buffed Nuwa. Nuwa's pick rate is 9.44%. Mercury's pick rate is 7.38%. But Nuwa needed a buff and Mercury needed a nerf. Despite her having a higher win rate, higher pick rate, slightly lower ban rate, Nuwa needed a buff though. And we decide to nerf him in a way that will not impact him at all. We're going to nerf him by decreasing the physical power scaling on his dash. In what fucking world? Is this like an impactful change at all? This is not where Mercury's damage comes from. Mercury's damage comes from him punching you in the mouth for 800. Comes from crit, his auto attacks, and his 1. His ultimate is a powerful tool. He's super fast. He's kind of difficult to catch, but if you catch him, he's dead. Special delivery is not part of the problem. And this is what you hit to put him. He's going over the speed limit? What is this shit? You say you look at win rates. Use win rates because that's the argument you've been making with Marty. His win rate's too low. I've been checking for the past few days on Marty's win rate. On the 4th, August 4th, he was 6th across all ranks. He was pick ban number 3 across all ranks. The ban rate was 53%. He is the highest of all hunters picked and ban win rate across all ranks. On the 5th, he was, I checked 12 hours later, not intentionally, but it ended up being almost 12 hours later, he was 7th for the entire day on the 5th. The 6th, he was 7th in win rate, again. On the 7th, he was 6th. But yet, we don't touch him in this patch. But we touch Mercury. And we buff Nuwa. Mercury's the 12th place, and Nuwa's the 11th. But Nuwa needed a buff. Their logic is inconsistent and stupid. Using win rate doesn't make sense to me. Because if you're going to use win rate, then should we be nerfing Geb and Nike and Bastet? Because Bastet is 53.69% win rate. Only just about 2% lower than Wukong, who is 55.04, who is getting nerfed this patch. This is so inconsistent. Doesn't make sense to me. Plus, this change is useless. Absolutely worthless. My argument is made with respect to Conquest. I don't include the other game modes because they have non-Conquest balance. There's a lot of non-Conquest changes in this patch. In fact, Nuwa is nerfed in one of them. So, all of my arguments here are based on Conquest solely. Just wanted to clarify that. They are extremely out of touch with either how the game works, or two, how to balance it properly. Again, like I said, I'm writing a video essay on this to make this in a more articulated format, but this is how I genuinely feel. They seem lost. You have a group of players that are considered the best in the world on either the same company's payroll or a sister company's payroll. You can ask them what they think. It wouldn't be difficult to reach out to them, whether it be on social media. You don't walk past them every day in the office. I understand that. You don't, because you might not even work in the same building. But you can shoot them a DM on Twitter. Ask them what they think. Hey, we're thinking about nerfing Marty, or we're thinking about buffing this character. What do you think would be a good change for them? Like a genuine good change. And you look at them, and if they say some stupid bullshit, yeah, you don't take it into consideration. But Marty has been in a state where he's been top 10 pick and ban for so long, and I'm sure they do talk to them, but talking and listening to them are two separate things. I have statistics from Goremizer, the statistics SPL guy. Sorry to spoil a little bit, but I have statistics from Goremizer, because Goremizer is a very nice person. I asked him if I could have some, and he gave them to me. He has been available for 176 games. He has been picked in 54 of them and banned in 97 of them. His total pick ban percentage is 77.55%. His pick percentage is 28.06%, and his ban percentage is 49.49%. But he doesn't need to be nerfed. His ult puts him in a disadvantaged state. That is one of the stupidest arguments I've ever heard in my life. And I'm not insulting Lermy as a game designer, as a person. I'm insulting her argument for being bad. I have nothing against Lermy as a human being. I just think her argument was stupid. Anyway, I digress. If you want to see the video essay, I'm working on it. Let me know if you want to hear my points on it. Wukong's changes. Decrease physical power gain per level. Okay, cool. He's still going to be a problem. That's really it. Undefeated body is the problem. This is one of the few changes that they've made that actually does hit the problem. It's not going to kill the problem, but it hits it. And it changes something. Susanoo change. This is a solid change. It's not going to kill the character, but this is a solid change. I like it. And a Zhong Kui nerf. Okay. Did he need it? Probably not. But yeah, those are my thoughts. Anyway, if you like the video, like it, share it, sub, all the YouTube BS. Join the Discord, check out the Twitch. Peace.